I started my career at SA Film Productions. It was in 1964, and I wanted to be a cameraman. And my father, who was in show business, got me a job at this company. And it was later to become Kalani Film Studios. And I wanted to tour the world. I wanted to see the world. I didn't want to wear a collar and tie. I wanted to be in open air outside. And during that time, that was the thing to do. And lo and behold, my very first job was in a dungeon. We called it the dungeon. It was in the photographic labs. And I was a processor in dank, dark, smelly atmosphere. And I thought, boy, this is exactly what I don't want. And I worked my way through the laboratories and then into the top position of negative film processor. And I used to meet all the cameramen. When they when they filmed, they came down to see what was happening. And as a result of that, I started going out with them on newsreel subjects, just to see what they were doing, but also to have a look at the sport, because I love sport. And in time, I was the first person ever in the laboratories to be given an assignment for the African Mirror. And it was the Kalani Bowls Day of all things. But of course, being young and full of influence, I arrived and I had a huge ladder. I wanted to get high shots, and I laid down on the green and got low angle shots, and they thought, what's going on? Anyway, what happened, every single time you filmed and your newsreel footage was accepted, there was a gentleman by the name of Jaime Kirstein. And every Monday morning, all the cameramen had to appear in the theatre, and the film was shown, and he would crit it. And of course, I was slated to pieces, because what do you think you are, a bloody artist, and what are you doing? Your name's not Fellini, and all that kind of stuff. And there's too many flares and not enough headroom and all that kind of stuff. But that's how we started to learn. And once I was, as I said, I was the first guy in the laboratory to do a subject. And thereafter, I started doing more. And in those days, when you did a subject, you got your name on the title below. And my name came out as D. Rogers, or Duane Rogers. And I was very upset because my name is Duane D. Rogers. And here's this pipsqueak. Benny Mechanic was the guy who was doing the titles at the time. This young pipsqueak going through to Benny Mechanic and saying, excuse me, but my name is Duane D. Rogers. It's not Duane Rogers. Anyway, it took about 3 subjects before it sunk in. And then after that, it was Duane D. Rogers. But yeah, I'm still this Duane Rogers now anyway. Well, everybody in Kalani was a mentor for me, because everybody was learning at the same time as I was. Different times, different positions, but we were all learning, because Kalani was the unofficial university of film. And when you started in the film production, in the department, when you start in the film department, you started right at the bottom and you became a junior cameraman, and a second assistant, then a first assistant, then a cameraman, and then a senior cameraman, then a director cameraman, and so it went. And that all took many years to evolve and to go through and around. I had many mentors. Johnny Brown was one. Italo Benicki was another. They were both members of the South African Society of Cinematographers. And we had 17 cameramen in our department. So we had a huge amount of people. At any given time, you would never see more than maybe 3 cameramen actually at the studios. They were all out busy shooting either commercials, documentaries, features, or whatever the case may be. So all those guys were part of the mentorship program where we all learnt from each other. You know, I progressed through the ranks over a period of time and pretty fast because of my dedication to the industry. We never knew, we could never make an appointment, a wedding or anything like that. You never knew when you were going to be away. So we never tended to have a permanent girlfriend or a steady girlfriend, as it were, because we were always away. But when I became serious and was courting and we were ready to get married, my wedding was postponed twice because I was a professional and I wasn't finished with my production. So as a result, that was postponed twice. The last time it was pretty serious because there was a band organized and all that kind of stuff and invitations printed. But, you know, that's the industry. I missed wedding anniversaries, birthdays, Christmas, New Year. Those things never counted. And because we were all true professionals and we were married to the industry. And our love of film. My love for camera started as a young man. I was given a camera by my father, a 35mm reflex camera, which was very new and very exotic for the time. And through my photography, I started to enjoy and love light. And I loved using natural light more than supplement lighting. And when I became a young cameraman, my first camera that I used was a 35mm IMO with 100-foot spools. The film we used was a very low ASA, I think it was a 64 rating, fine resolution. It was great, it was very good stuff. But of course it wasn't a reflex camera. So you had to be able to judge your distance immediately, take your camera, hold your camera, look at the lens, look at your position. Okay, it's 6 feet because we worked in feet in those days, not in meters. And so we then had to adjust it and everything and then set the thumb suck, do a thing for your aperture, and shoot. And just by doing that and experiencing and doing that on an ongoing basis, you got to know your distances. You didn't have to worry about tape measures and all that kind of stuff. And then later on, of course, I got my first Arriflex 35mm reflex camera, an Arri 2B. That was a fantastic camera. And then later on, I got a brand new out-the-box from Germany, an Arri 35 2C, with the full set of prime lenses and batteries and all that kind of stuff. That was exciting, really, really exciting to go out and start shooting with that, because added to that, we could then shoot with long lenses, zoom lenses and all the rest. It was great. In those days, as a young cameraman, you didn't really have many assistants to help you when you went out on productions. So you normally carried everything yourself on your shoulder, and you had bags where you had your magazines and spare batteries loped around your neck and that kind of stuff. And somewhere tucked in the bag, we'd find some bottle of Coke or something like that, and maybe a sandwich. And that's the way you operated. And it was an amazing time to make movies. I started out as an assistant on a production called Escape Route Cape Town. John Webb was the director from the States, James Brolin, forget the gorgeous female that was in. And in my innocence and my stupidity at the time, I thought, you know what, feature film isn't for me, because everything is scripted. Everything's written down. You can't just make a decision when and how, what to do, because it's all done. And for that reason, I think that's why I was kicked off that production eventually, because I wasn't fully into it. And I went into real-time filming, documentaries, and I started doing, which I'm very proud of. I did a whole series of commercials. They were 3 to 5 minutes long, and they were for Gunston cigarettes, for Rembrandt tobacco, as well as I did a few Rothmans and some art ones as well for Van Ryn. But those were very exciting because you had to think on your feet. You had to film an event live. And if the weather was rainy or whatever, you had to turn it into your advantage. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. And I realized as a young man, that's why I didn't like features, because it was too regimented. Have to do this, come in here, close up here, this here, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I found my forte in life, and then I specialized in documentaries. And as it turned out, they were historical, not hysterical, historical documentaries. And those are fantastic because I traveled the country and saw the whole of Southern Africa, in fact. And through the commercial side, I saw the whole of the world. During the filming overseas with the crews, we were doing all the extreme sports before they were even recognized today as extreme sports. All the racing, the skydiving, the ski vlug, the downhill racing and all that kind of stuff, skydiving and surfing. So it was fun. And I realized my dream because I didn't have to wear a collar and tie. I didn't work in an office. I wore jeans, sneakers, and a T-shirt. And the most, I would say, the most formally I got dressed as if I put on a jacket with my T-shirt. And that's the way I wanted to live, and that's the way I was very fortunate to be able to live. And I was extremely happy to realize my dream. I was asked in 1981 if I would like to become a member of the SASC, South African Society of Cinematographers. And of course I jumped at it and I said, yes, please, I'd love to. And my showreel had to be admitted and I had to go through the ranks and all that kind of stuff. And that was a very important day in my life when I became a SASC member. And then Stuart Fennell, who was the then secretary, passed away, and I became the secretary. And in 2003, I managed, or was fortunate enough to be granted or won the Lifetime Achievement Award called the Stuart Fennell Award. So that was a big day. Cinematography today is a little bit too easy to get into in terms of what is known and is categorized as cinematography. The profession of director of photography is bandied around. Anybody that just comes in as a young, up-and-coming cinematographer, because he or she has lit maybe a set, is all of a sudden a director of photography. But to become a director of photography, I believe it's the second oldest profession in the world. I'm not talking about the oldest female profession, but the oldest profession is an organ maker. That is like 23 years of making an organ. So to be a South African director of photography, a DOP, it takes at least 12 to 14 years of experience, because it's not just what you do with the camera, with the lights, it's what you do on set, and you become a father figure, and how you relate to the people that on the set. So to answer your question, basically, I think it's a bit too easy for people to come in today into the industry. But as soon as they learn enough about it and they realize that there are organizations or societies like the SASC, and they can aspire to that and learn from that, and by becoming a member and by becoming an aspiring member, you can then judge your career path. My career advice to anybody wanting to get into the industry is not to think of yourself. You know, not one person makes a movie, not one director, one director of photography, or one actor or actress or producer. It's a team event, and altogether, by working together, you are the person that makes an exciting and a good production. If you go in with an ego, if you go in with the belief that I'm the greatest, I'm the best, I know it all, you're not going to last long. But if you go in with the passion, and you go in knowing that you've got room for improvement every single day, you'll do well, and you will get far in the industry.